Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Savage Patriots. We are going to be discussing something quite important today. So, if you would mind, please sharing this live,
Mm.
because unfortunately, um, history is trying to be undone and rewritten in a format that's an absolute lie. So, we're here to try and debunk
Mhm.
a few of the ridiculous narratives that are being pushed
Mm.
upon us by idiots. So, to begin with, the topic today is the Republicans, what you were not told.
Mhm.
Um, we want to take a look at the beginnings, the origins, the backstory, the original people that populated the Republican Party, and also eventually get to what happened to the Republican Party and how did we get to a state where the Republican Party today doesn't reflect anything of what it used to back in the olden times. So um, we'll get that figured out first. So Lee,
Yes, sir.
give us your input first, sir.
So, from what it is that I've been able to read on an elementary level without me being, well, considering that I'm not black, obviously,
Hmm.
I've read through various sources that the Republican Party was, in fact, the party of anti-slavery,
Right.
and that
Yep.
the Republican Party was founded by, get this, drum roll please, black freedmen.
Mm.
Now, see, here's this problem with that, and this is where the conundrum for most of the modern education system lies. I was never taught this in elementary, middle, and high school. No, it was just Republican Party, Democrat Party.
Yeah, it
Democrats
just happened
were,
to exist.
the party of the people, and the Republicans are the party of, big money. Blah
Racism.
blah blah blah.
Hmm.
For, well, not during my days in high school, but like even the notion that the Republican Party is just all about all about the money. We were never told that the Republican Party was the anti-slavery party. It was started to fend off and continue the movement of ensuring that the idea that all men are created equal, that we are endowed
Mhm.
with inalienable rights, and this was the mantra of the freed black men that started all this stuff. And I mean, I don't want to use Hollywood as a good litmus test, but the Free State of Jones is a fantastic movie
Mhm.
regarding the storyline of the Republican Party post antebellum slavery.
Yep. And there's also a little known like fact that people kind of forget is that Lincoln was the first Republican president as well.
Hmm.
At that, and it was a conglomeration of multiple parties that ended up making the Republican Party. So it was all towards the notion of stopping the expansion of slavery and to also limit that spread to new states, and then that's what ultimately led to the Civil War, as we all know in history.
Right.
Um, they the problem is where we start to diverge, and I'd mentioned this before, is that it wasn't until about Roosevelt and when the New Deal came about is when the party seemed to kind of fracture. I think that's where
Yep.
the beginning is where you have to look at that as like, where did the Republicans go wrong? They went wrong when they lost their roots and forgot about black folks. That's what it was. They should have stuck to civil rights issues with black people, and because they disregarded them and got too close to big business, that's when we started seeing what the modern Republican Party is now, and it started going downhill from there.
I don't know that they did that. I think because we have to remember around the same time that fracture, so-called fracture, took
Mhm.
place, there were quite a few freed black people that were making and thriving, and they
Mm.
had businesses. Um, and if they had continued the way in the vein of people like Booker T, because his concept was to try and get black people to be industrialized. He
Yep.
wanted them to figure their life out based on the industry itself. And if you could do that, then you could build generational wealth outside of the schooling system. If even if you were ostracized from it, you're still making generational wealth because you are controlling one avenue of income that does not fully depend on the schooling system. It just depends on a trade.
Hmm.
Um, the,
And I
the
find it interesting too that even during the times of slavery, post slavery, and into Jim Crow and segregation, um, Black people were thriving as a cultural unit, as a family unit, and as a financial unit.
Yeah.
They were doing better financially. They were doing better in terms of family dynamics, in terms of a thriving culture that reflected the values of republicanism that we should be aware of today.
Yeah. You also got to remember that that time was also kind of the Harlem Renaissance and everything else that was happening at that time. Is there was a lot of arts and there was a lot of prosperity that was going around in the Black community, and it wasn't until much later after that that things started going worse off for the Black community.
Well,
And I think that
they linked arms with a group when they started to go along with Du Bois. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
so
That
the
guy.
split between the mindset that Booker had and Du Bois had was, one was you have to protest to get and fight to get versus work to get.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when you start to focus on fight to get, you ignore actually producing. You
Mhm.
start to stand against what you should be doing, which is working, and hope while you're protesting something takes place, and it never did. So
Yep.
when you have this rift where one's person trying to tell you, work hard enough to create wealth, and when the wealth is created, then you can also sub funnel that wealth to your own education system, and thereby have two pieces of income that you can have, one educational and one industrial. That never took seed. Now the Democrats brought in the idea of unions.
Yeah.
When unions came up, and you have
Sense.
now unions that are for people who don't really want to work but need the money, they have a gravitation now of what Du Bois was pushing and something he could push towards. And then you have what Booker was asking people to do, and no one wanted to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when the Republicans took the side of big business, I don't think they took the side against blacks. I think they took the side with the blacks that wanted to be industrious,
Yes.
and they never left the Republican Party.
I think that's true in a sense, but it also, they forgot what their roots were in terms of the civil rights. Like if they would have kept pushing civil rights issues that were affecting Black folks at the time, I think that would have cemented their, in lack of a better word, loyalty to the party. If
Yeah,
they
civil
would have
rights was a
pushed more of
trash
their
movement.
issues.
Civil rights was a trash movement. We should have never had that. I'm dead serious. We should have never had that.
Well, that's
It was the
surprising.
worst. It was the worst decision ever to ever happen. Because here's what was happening. There wasn't anything that Black people wasn't able to do.
That's right.
You have to consider from 1815, 1819 to about 1920, there was a robust economy of Black people going throughout the whole United States. We're talking about, let me see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different locations, all, mind you, in Democratic locations and Republican locations that were thriving Black businesses, not just one or two. I'm talking about entire economies in a certain region right there with only Black businesses that were thriving. So if you have that going on when it was so-called no civil rights happening, then you implement this idea of civil rights where you get to sit back and get handed stuff. You create
Yep.
lazy people.
That's right.
It goes down to that whole issue of slow progression versus militant progression,
Yeah.
which is what's always been kind of the issue when it comes to civil rights. Was, you know, same with Martin Luther King and like Malcolm X, is like the militant side versus the progressive, like slow progression side. Like that's
Exactly.
what you're saying. So
And-
if you would, so the segregation portion of that is something that's been brought up again today, of like, if we just give Black people spaces, they can get out of this slump or whatever they want to say, the oppression that they're having. Is like they can move forward on their own terms like they were before, in terms of the Black Wall Streets and all the other cities that were developing, as what Marlon was saying.
And that's the problem with, you know, the Black community these days, and not all of us, but mainly on the left side of things, is that they want it now. That's the more militant, the more we want you to give it to us now. We don't want to work for it. We want you to give it to us. Black conservatives and Republicans, we understand the slow progression of success. So we're willing to work hard to move ourselves up to be that, you know, successful person that has enough money to survive. If you're trying to force people to give you things, they can take it away anytime they want. But they're not going to take anything from me because I slowly earned that.
Right.
So they can't touch me. And that's the huge difference. So between Du Bois and freaking Booker T, Du Bois wanted everything right now. They were militant. They were angry. They were violent at times. And you're going to give it to us. And it didn't work.
Yeah.
And then if in some parts that did work, they gave them, okay, we're going to give you welfare. Oh.
I want to ask Erica a question here. When, and I need an exact date because this is history we're talking about, so there's an exact date. When were Jim Crow laws instituted? That's the first question. Secondly, when were the majority of Black Wall Street groups thriving? I want those two questions answered by you. Tell me when Jim Crow laws got put into place and by whom. That's very important. And then tell me, when were the thriving Black Wall Streets in existence? If you can answer those two questions, then I will show you if I was cool with Jim Crow laws or not.
And these are specific dates.
Okay, but I want to address that too. But that's also what people are kind of addressing today. Is they're trying to do self-segregation in the terms of Jim Crow laws, like in their own way. Like all the fake Jim Crow thing about voting and whatever. It's like just because the whole voter ID thing saying that's Jim Crow. That's not Jim Crow. Obviously, it's not.
There's
but there's
no
a
such
lot of
thing as
people that are trying to do self-segregation right now. The left is really big on self-segregation right now. It's like white people need to just F off down the road and let all the other minorities do their own thing without them. That's
But see, here's so Coy, here's the interesting thing though. Like the Asian community and Asian immigrants have already done that. They've self-segregated, which is why you have Chinatown.
White adjacent anyway.
Well, I mean,
and the thing while waiting on Erica's answer, was Jim Crow a real person? Yeah, that's the question you have to ask yourself. And a lot of us know that we know the answer, but we want to know if you know the answer. Who is Jim Crow? That's what I want to know. And let's see if you get it right.
I don't think Erica was going to answer my question though.
No, she's
not.
I
see a time progression, and I don't see dates. I see no actual dates.
So if I can find that out, please, that'd be great. And tell me also who founded the NAACP and for what purpose?
A white person.
Because if you want to talk about separation,
hey, spoiler alert, bro.
Please tell me if you want to talk about separation and that whites did it, please tell me what the NAACP did. Because here's the thing, we want to talk about the history of slavery and the history of racism and the history of this and this, but you don't really want to talk about the history of it. You want to talk about nitpicking slight pieces out of time and making it like it was all of history when it's a blatant, obvious, stinking lie. So if we're going to have an honest conversation, let's have exactly that, an honest conversation. Because the NAACP did worse for Black Americans, and they're still doing worse for Black Americans than any positive that they've ever done. There's nothing good that has ever come out of the NAACP, not one thing. If anything, they're the kinds of people that would have been behind Jim Crow laws if they were the ones that came up with it. Okay, so let's talk honestly about it. But tell me again, and I don't think you will, because you probably spoke what you spoke and dipped out like, normal people that like to raise an ant's nest and then run. If you want to talk honestly about stuff, let's talk honestly about it. But you're not going to answer my question about why is it that they were still thriving in spite of, there were thriving Black areas of the United States that had businesses, families, blocks and blocks and blocks of homes that were separate from Black Wall Street in Tulsa. There were others that were never spoken about and continued to thrive even after 1965. So if you can explain that to me, I would love to hear it. If you can do that for me, please. I'll wait still. I'll leave your question. I'll leave the question for people to see. Please, just tell me, okay? I want to address one thing. I want to go through the list of names that were of the first one. These are the original Blacks of the Republican Party, okay?
Yep.
And there were quite a few. I'll give some names. Hiram Revels. Y'all might have heard that name before. He's actually one of the more popular ones. Benjamin Sterling Turner, Robert DeLarge, Josiah Thomas Walls, Jefferson Franklin Long, Joseph Hayne Rainey, Robert Brown Elliott. Those are good names that you need to go and look up, people.
Mm-hmm.
These were the original, or Republican, by the way, blacks that were allowed. Not really. They formed it. Those were them. And they came straight out of slavery, without civil rights, by the way, straight out of slavery, right into Parliament. Now, okay, so I want one more thing. Nope, never heard of, because the whole Republican Party is a bunch of sellouts, kind of like you coon.
Ooh, we got
kind of like you.
We got a coon,
Democratic coon.
We got a
you
sambo.
Are the true coon. You are the true coon. You know why you are the true coon?
Making the only white guy on here uncomfortable.
I'm gonna tell you why you are the true coon. You're the same guy that back in those days would have been throwing Molotov cocktails onto Black Wall Street because you wouldn't want them to be thriving. That would be you, because they would have been the sellouts to you. They would have been the ones that are, you are a coon for sure. You a coon. You beyond coon. You're the kind of people that would work in the house, and when black people escape from the plantation, you would be on your horse whipping them to get them back to the plantation. You are Sam. You're the worst of black people. You're the kind of people that would hunt down your own brethren that are trying to escape to freedom because you love massa's boots so much. You love it on your mouth and you love it up your butt. That's you, Tron. Get that clear.
Bet you he's never read the book either.
Y'all are the worst, just the worst. They're sellouts because they started a party to actually be for freed blacks. Be for freed blacks, and they're the sellouts. Meanwhile, you're sitting in a corner voting for the same people that would have hung you from a tree and laughed at you and burned your body and then go stone your house and kill your family. You're with them.
Yeah, and still people
make that
forget
make
the
sense.
Democratic Party.
Make that make sense. Y'all are a bunch of disgusting black people. All of you that go for that party.
Coy, enjoy the ride. Just enjoy the ride, bro. Just enjoy
I'm along for it. That's
yeah.
Right?
I'll write it. I'll write it down.
I don't ever understand it. We're giving you true factual history here. They're sellouts. Because they went from slavery to freedom and into party right into it and tried to help others get out of slavery, they're the sellouts. You would much rather side with the people that burned down Black Wall Street. That's you. Because they've done a lot for you, right? They've done a lot for you. Every Democrat-run city today is an absolute hellhole. But they've done something for you. Every year they come bringing some chocolate to you and dangling it in front of your face, and you do like a little puppy. Gimme. Right? They'll tell you, hey, we'll fix your city. We will fix your city. And they do nothing for you. And you just come and go. The next 4 years, you go and give them your vote again. That's how dumb you are. You go give them all your money, all your votes, and your city looks like absolute trash, and you don't care. You don't care. You're more than willing to blame white people for stuff that you do. Meanwhile, you actually had a party started by black people who did not want to be in slavery, wanted to be free, found a way to make it into the locations to make the change. They're the sellouts. They're the sellouts.
Let that sink in for a little bit.
They're the sellouts.
Crazy.
You would never know, Tron. You know why? Because you don't pay attention. Why would I give you information? I just gave information and you call them sellouts. What more am I going to talk to an idiot about? There's some things. You don't talk to a dummy expecting proper feedback. You would be that dummy that I can't talk to expect proper feedback. I drop truth in your lap. The people that I talk to you about are sellouts. Why would I waste my time to try and educate a brick? Why?
Who is us?
Why would I go to an outhouse to try and retrieve gold and toilet paper? It makes no sense.
Hey, I want to know who us is, because I ain't a part of us. I'm an individual. We ain't no tribe. I don't know you. I'm not part of your us, because I'm very successful. So, and it had
I mean-
nothing to do with being a Republican. It was a conservative ideology that got me to where I'm at.
If we had to pick one thing, I mean, it would be winning the Civil War. So,
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, if we had to pick one out of all the things the Republicans have done, I mean, maybe winning the Civil War and keeping the Union together, and then keeping
freeing
people out of
slaves.
slavery.
We did all
Only
that.
that. I mean, only that one thing. I mean, not a big deal. Or
Hey, you know,
anything.
and you know what else the Republican Party? You know, those white Republicans that fought in the Civil War, they helped free slaves too.
Yeah, just
Democrats
thousands of
wanted to
lives
keep you
dead.
in
Listen,
chains.
friends, if you're going to come in here and use derogatory terms like the N-word, I'm going to just boot you from the room. You know that, right? You know I could just boot you from the room so you can get some time to go find your dad.
Yeah, we don't use that word in here.
Do you need me to give you time to go find your dad?
This ain't one of those podcasts.
Search on the side of a milk carton, perhaps?
Go to TikTok for that.
Do you need me to let you have some time to go find your pops?
That's going to be hard.
I can give you the time if you want.
Oh, man.
With your weak vocabulary.
He's probably raised by a single mother.
Well, there you go, Tron. I'll tell you what, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to help you go find your dad. Where you at? Jim Crow's your dad? You know what else Jim Crow is? Watch this.
The band hammer coming.
What the heck? He literally just said, what?
I wanted him to answer who is Jim Crow. He probably doesn't even know that damn Sambo. He don't know who Jim Crow is.
He blocked now.
Yeah, Jim Crow ain't even a person.
Now he blocked. I'm waiting for the next one to talk stupid too, so I can block him.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I'm waiting for the next idiot to chime in.
No, but seriously, Erica, we need dates. It's been like what?
She's already left the room.
Yeah, she probably got her
It's-
freaking.
It-
She
that,
probably got her.
that was like 15 minutes ago, man.
Yeah, she got her Sambos in here. She probably was like, go to this podcast. You know, she got her fellow Sambos in here to talk crap. They ain't
But
gonna
here-
win here. How many times Marlon got to tell you guys you're not going to win here? You
We are
can't
looking
report
at
it.
something here. Let's look at something here. Black Wall Street.
Marlon, do you want to
existed
answer
somewhere
Erica's
between
question?
18
Because
where?
I think people are wanting
Which question?
When did
the
it start?
dates for Jim Crow and all that stuff that she thought she had. You know.
Oh, I'm not with her because she's under the idea that Jim Crow was the reason that black people were held back, and that's what they've always been told.
It's not true because my grandparents grew up when they were around Jim
That is-
Crow.
that
and
is
they were
not the
very
truth at all.
successful. That's not.
That's not even remotely the truth.
You know what held black people at back? Marxism.
And
Du
it wasn't
Bois.
this Erica, by the way. It was another Erica, some other Erica that she already left and didn't come back. So in North Carolina, okay, so I was talking to you about the other Black Wall Street that existed.
Mhm.
There was one in Durham, North Carolina, right? Now, in Durham, North Carolina, in the 1900s, right? They had assets somewhere in the region of listen to this number. Now remember, 1900s, early 1900s,
Mhm.
200 million.
It's a lot of money.
200 million. They had assets well over $200 million. Now, mind you, North Carolina in the 1900s. Remember again, North Carolina,
Mhm.
Democrat run in the 1900s. You'd think for a fact, oh, they're oppressed, right? In 1900, a Democrat governor. 1904, Democrat. 1908, Democrat. 1912, Democrat. 1916, Democrat. 1920, Democrat. 1924, Democrat. 1928, Democrat. 1932, Democrat. 1936, Democrat. 1940, Democrat. 1944, Democrat. 1948, Democrat. 1952, Democrat. It's not until what? 2012 did you get a Republican one.
Mhm.
Hey, Marlon,
Mhm.
check
Okay.
this out. Check this out. So $200 million in the 1900s, if you adjust for inflation today, would be over $7 billion today.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Still a lot of
Holy
money.
cow.
Now,
$7 billion.
someone asked, so what happened then? They still thrived because they didn't get the damage that Tulsa got. They didn't get bombed.
Mhm.
They didn't get blown up. They didn't get burned. But what started to happen over time was this. The seed that was planted on the left of sit down and don't do anything infiltrated there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If
And
you
the
shut up
few
long
that
enough, we'll
held
give you
on to
something.
the idea moved on, and you can still see their generational wealth today,
Mhm.
but they don't get talked about. They're the sellouts.
Yeah.
They have become sellout because you know why? They don't live where? In the hood. They don't know the struggle.
Yep.
They didn't want to know the struggle. That's why they passed on generational wealth.
They wanted to get the hell up out of there.
One of the main reasons I think that the breakup happened was because of the FBI and the CIA during Martin Luther King's time, because they were scared of what rich black families could accomplish, right?
Yep.
And so when you started getting rid of these black Republicans in the early 60s, you started eliminating challenges because they were the ones funding MLK, right?
Mhm.
And so they had to break the black family and that structure in order to keep them from funding more radical changes. And that, and obviously, Democrats at the time didn't like that. They definitely
Yep.
didn't like that. So they had to change their strategy. So they got him hooked on the welfare system.
Yep.
And that's now, mind you, they used MLK, and it wasn't like he was a Republican. He had a few conservative ideals, but the majority was socialist. He was by nature a socialist.
But
When
his
he bought- when he- what?
churchgoers were.
Well,
A
he
lot of
didn't.
them
Even, he didn't even preach anything to do with church. His
No.
whole mindset about God wasn't even godly.
Yep.
So what he never actually had, and he went to seminary, but he went to seminary to learn how to use the Bible to bring people to his side. And I'm going to fight quite a few people on this one, but he was not the one that was a helper. Okay, I would dare say that the person that had more of a help to the black community later on was that the tail end of Malcolm X
Mm-hmm.
than Martin Luther
I
King.
believe that.
But they
Yeah, 'cause he
both
did
got
warn.
taken out. They both got taken out for the same reason. You got to create a martyr, and you have to create a system where people are angry and outraged so they can't function up here. The ones that bought into it, you'll see them today that began all the progressive movements and new age progressive movements. And the ones that did not get tricked by that, you'll still see them today thriving and not
Yep.
needing anything to do with welfare,
Nope.
having anything to do with affirmative action. They don't need any of that. Why? Because they didn't buy into it. They didn't fall for it.
That's
Okay.
right.
So when you have people like this, okay, so the current the Republican Party, I would say that Nixon, for me, I think Nixon was probably the most obvious flip in the corrupting side of the Republican Party.
I think it definitely started the downfall of the modern Republican Party.
Yes.
Was definitely started with Nixon. Like if we had to pick a pivotal moment, would be Nixon in his presidency. That's where it all got messed up. So
Very true. And then back to Martin Luther King, you know, when Martin Luther King was arrested, and I think one of the Kennedys ended up getting him out of jail. You started to see a shift within the black community because he was hunky dory with the Kennedys. They were Democrats. And so they used Martin Luther King to get black votes. That's why they got him out of jail. They arrested him on some bull crap. And so they're like, look, we got him out and he supports me. So what did all the black people do? They're like, oh, we're voting for the king. We're voting Democrat. Hey, and then we're going to give you this. We're going to give you housing. We're going to give you welfare, you know, and they've been like that forever because they don't want to lose what the government's given them.
Well,
and why would they? Because they've been taught that the Republican Party hates black people. The Republican Party is going to take your money, your welfare, which it isn't really yours. It's the taxpayers. So they're so scared of that happening that they're not going to give their vote up to a Republican.
See, but I thought that the whole welfare system, to the point where black women were leaving their men for the government, started more in the 20s. Like, is that correct?
No.
No.
The black community was thriving up until about the late 50s, and then once the civil rights started going until the end of the 60s and into Nixon's administration is when the black family started to go down.
Yep.
And you can see that in the data.
Yeah, it was all, and they focused on the women. Hey, you don't need him. You don't need a man. We'll pay you.
You also have Margaret
JB?
Sanger at the same time setting up Planned Parenthood right outside of those certain areas in order for black folk to get
Eugenics.
abortions real quick.
What would they call it? What she call us? Human weeds.
Yeah.
You know, and
The
this
whole
is
point
why.
of Planned Parenthood was to get rid of the black family, but
Yep.
nobody wants to admit that.
No, they think it's about abortion. It's not about abortion. That's part of it.
Let me break down a couple of things about this civil rights thing that had took place with LBJ, right?
Mhm.
That's
The original draft was almost 180 degree difference to the one that was passed.
Mm-hmm.
Here is the first way that they suckered silly, and I mean silly, black people as opposed to the smart ones out of their rights. When they passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, if it really was about black people having equal rights, listen carefully to me. If the Civil Rights Act was about black people getting equal rights, you would never need to state it that it was banning employment discrimination on the basis of race plus anything else. They put race, color, religion, sex, national origin. None of the other ones after race had anything to do with black people.
Yeah.
And just like
That's true.
everything else today, if you're not thinking, when they try to pass something to do with so-called rights, human rights, and black people are at the top of it, who else piggybacks on it?
Every other group.
Everybody else.
You think
Yeah.
it's any different from civil rights? The civil rights was the worst possible thing because it opened up the door to put you straight back at the back of the bus again.
Everybody.
All they did was make you feel good for like 5 minutes. Oh, we got right. What rights did you have? You had a whole 50 to 70 years of prosperity before this act got passed.
Mm-hmm.
Long before it. And nobody else came messing with you. The instant they decide, oh, civil rights, we need it. They did it so they could piggyback all. It's no different than today when they pass all these bills with pork in it. Come on now.
Honestly,
There's no difference.
that kind of sort of makes me a little frustrated because then we had this, in the name of civil rights, we got recently this anti-Asian bill that nobody asked for, you know,
Mhm.
and it literally piggybacked off of, you know, this whole BLM thing. It's like Asians don't need that. Nobody asked for that, and I find it just, I just find it odd that both
No, he
liberals
didn't.
are.
No.
If you think Biden was bad, this guy
LBJ
was
was
worse.
Ooh,
Oh yeah, LBJ
Okay.
was really bad.
LBJ was the most racist human being.
And the thing with LBJ, what a lot of people don't know, he signed the Civil Rights Act, and though he changed some things in there, the original Civil Rights Act, I think, came out in 1957,
Mm-hmm.
written by Republicans, and they voted against it. The Democrats did. And then after he got in office, he was like, "Well, let me go in and pass this so we can keep."
Now
the
remember
black
how
vote."
he got in too. Okay.
yeah.
Also remember how he got in, because don't forget that Kennedy was the most middle to right Democrat there was.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As crappy as a president that he was either way as a person, he was still moderate to right than he was left.
He was more of a what we call a libertarian these days.
So when he decided to sign on with Martin Luther King and get the civil rights thing moving, what they started to realize was one thing: Kennedy was the blocker. He
Mhm.
wasn't going to allow anything else on the bill. So what did they have to do? They had to take care of him, and they took care of him.
Yeah, that was one reason. Another reason was I think Vietnam War. I think
You have to start thinking about the way these people move, right? So if you want to tell me that so let's talk about the party switch that never happened.
Yeah. No,
Every time somebody
never
tells me
happened.
that the party switched, I keep telling them to tell me how many people switched over.
Oh, I'm not gonna. You want me to say? I can.
How many?
2.
Oh, that's a big switch.
Mm-hmm.
That's massive.
Strom Thurmond and one other guy that created the Dixiecrats.
yeah.
And then the Dixiecrats didn't work out. Then Strom Thurmond became a Republican.
All the Democrats that were still Democrats back in that day were still serving up until the 90s and
Mhm.
early 2000s. They were still
Uh-huh.
Democrats the entire time. They never changed. Like
Never.
what was it? Robert Byrd, the
Yep.
Klan leader himself, who
That
Hillary Clinton was so friends with.
And Obama gave a eulogy at his funeral. Come on, man.
The Ku Klux Klan dude, you gave you the
The
eulogy.
Grand
for.
Wizard.
Congratulations.
And what did LBGJ say that was heard? Now I can't confirm.
No, I
the
heard
100.
the recording. I heard the recording.
Yeah. Oh, you heard it? What did he
Yeah.
say? I will have the
We'll have these N-words voting Democrat for the next 60 years.
And
200
he
years.
did.
200
Yeah,
years.
And
he did.
And he did exactly that. Because
And
now that's why
that's
black
where the
people look at
Republicans lost.
that's why black people look at the Democratic Party as the ones that passed the civil rights. He just signed off on it. They didn't write the bill. It was already written.
Yeah.
And they were smart about it. That's why a lot of black people vote Democrat, because the Democrat, they think in their brain that the Democrats created the civil rights, bill, and they're giving them money, which that's not true. It's not
really
true at
not.
all. So if you look at your roots, if you go back in time in history, and you might find some relatives that helped create the Republican Party. And they probably rolling over into the graves that people are supporting a party that enslaved them.
That's probably the most accurate statement ever. Probably the most accurate statement for not all.
I'm flip-flopped.
But most. Because here's the thing. If you watch how the spending habits are of the Black American community, it's not an investive type of spending. It's instant gratification type spending.
Flashy.
And as long as you can get them to continue that by offering more, you don't have to worry about them becoming entrepreneurial.
That's right.
And the ones that are entrepreneurial aren't going to go to the locations where the people are not, because that's not where they're going to make their money.
That's where everybody got propped up.
And people that are entrepreneurs do not spend money in that way, because they understand they have a business. Now, when you're getting free government assistance, it's just free money. I'm going to go out and buy this new Gucci bag, and I'm going to do this and that and this. So they're not trying to build generational wealth. They're with the right now, like I said earlier. They're wanting right now, self-gratification. Give it to me now. Us Black conservatives, I've had the same pair of sneakers for 3 years. And until the bottom sole falls off of that, I'm going to keep wearing them. I don't go out and do all that crazy stuff with my money, because I understand I have responsibilities, and I'm trying to build generational wealth for my son. But a lot of Black people don't do that. Self-gratification is to now. We want it now. And I'm going to go out and buy these new Jordans and wait in line for 4 hours and spend $200 on a pair of stupid ass shoes, which you don't need, because it's flashy. They want to look rich, but they're broke. Rich people look broke. Broke people look rich.
But that's what I was going to say, is like, that's the kind of what the system's been perpetuating in the Black community, is you got to see who they're propping up, right? They're always propping up the sports stars and the athletes and the rappers. Is like, they're always flashy, they're always this, they're always losing their money, and those are the people that they keep propping up over and over and over again, instead of the entrepreneur, instead of the business owner, instead of the engineer, instead of the scientist, instead of the astronaut or the military guy. Like, that's who they've been propping up this entire time.
And they made fun of Ben Carson, a prominent neurosurgeon, a Republican, and they made fun of him. This guy's smarter than everybody in the room. Why don't you look
definitely
at that
smarter
guy
than me?
Why don't you look at that guy and be like, that's who I want to be like? But no, they all want to be like LeBron James, and it's funny how they worship these celebrities. They literally, they will go to bat for them like they're their friend. You talk bad about one of their celebrities, I don't give a damn about no damn celebrity. You can talk about Jay-Z all you want. I don't give a shit about him and Beyonce. But there's some people out there, Black folk, talk about Beyonce. They get all in their feels about that shit. And they don't give a damn about the Black community. They don't care about you. They wouldn't piss on you if you was on fire. But you're going to go out and buy their new album. You're going to buy their perfume, putting food on their table while your family's struggling.
I gotta ask you a question, Jose. Republicans today, I'm assuming that our is supposed to be R, the Democrat Party of the past. So they are the racist.
That's not true.
So sad.
I'm wondering how you came to that conclusion, first off. And how is it that if there was no party switch, did the Republicans become the Democrats?
They just woke up one day and said, look, we're Democrats now. That's not true. And here's the problem with that comment. As Black conservatives, we get called more racist names by liberals, white liberals at that. I've been called a coon, Uncle Tom, all these N-words, and they were liberals. They call me House Negro, and they're all liberals. I've never had a white conservative call me anything like that. And that's the truth on everything I love. So who are the real racists? See, here's the thing with the Democratic Party. They're racist, and they've always been racist. But now they have blackface to get out there and do their dirty work for them. So That's the facts.
I got a question then. I got a question. If the Republican Party today is racist, then they would have to be racist on the grounds that they're asking black people to do for themselves. If the Democrats are not racist, then they're not racist because they're thinking black people can't do for themselves. So let me ask you a question. What is actually racist? Telling you you can do it, or telling you you're not intelligent enough to do it?
The bigotry of low expectations.
So please, that's my biggest question to everyone listening. If you can tell me, if Republicans asking you and telling you you can do this, it's nothing's keeping you back, and then the other side is telling you no, everything's keeping you back, and you'll never be able. Which one's racist?
Yeah, the supportive
really
father
wanna
or
answer.
the abusive mother telling you you're going to stay in the basement
I
the
would
entire
love to
time.
know. I would love to know.
And we're not saying the Republican Party is perfect.
Oh, they're far from it.
Yeah,
God, no.
and I'm not a Republican, but the party itself do pander to communities also. They all do it.
Oh yeah.
But the
That's
Democratic
politicians,
Party,
man.
the Democratic Party is a master at it. You know, everything
They got a good
promise
PR
you,
team.
everything they promise you, do they ever come through with their promise?
Not yet.
No.
No, never.
Actually, no, you lied. They did. They did.
I mean, if the Democrats had to sign an anti-lynching law, isn't murdering somebody already illegal?
No. They do exactly what they said they were going to do. They told Black Wall Street they were going to come burn it down. They did it.
See, the only thing the Democrats are good at is locking black men up in prison.
Yep.
That's it. And they I don't know why people keep forgetting that Joe Biden's the one that caused that, right? That did the most damage to
they
the
didn't
black
forget.
community.
They call
but
it ignorant. They
See,
call it
you
ignorant.
supporting a president like that says a lot about you. If you voted for Biden, are you racist? Is the Democratic Party racist for supporting him? Is the Democratic racist for supporting Hillary, who loved Robert Byrd?
And if you support the type of a president as somebody who recognizes the history of the Democratic Party as a black person, isn't that self-hatred?
Yes.
Just
Didn't he
asking
drop the
questions.
N-
Just
Didn't he
asking
drop
questions.
the N-bomb? Marlon, you think you could pull up that clip when Biden was dropping the N-bomb? We don't need no. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And this is the
He's got
president
those.
you guys support. But see, the thing with the Democrats try to change history. They think taking down a statue is going to freaking make the world a better place. Here, newsflash for all you liberals. Racism is going nowhere. Hate is going nowhere. What you have to learn to do is ignore it. If it doesn't affect your daily life and they're not doing you physical harm, you could say whatever you want to me. I'm still living. I'm still thriving. But see, you guys get all emotional about words. I don't get emotional because the words don't hurt me, man. What's that old saying? Sticks and stones may break my bones. I don't give a damn. I know what I'm capable of, and I know what type of man I am. So, I mean, you guys are so brainwashed, and they taught you this false history created by the Rockefellers who changed history. The elites change history all the time, and you guys believe it. They changed the definition of racism. Then you guys say I'm just prejudiced. Well, prejudice is racist. This is the same damn thing. But you guys still are, we can't be racist. Get out of here, man.
There was a black creator on TikTok that I saw today that was really good. He pointed out, can you name 5 white anti-racists that have worked to end slavery? And even me myself, I thought about it. And I was like, you know what? I don't off the top of my head. I don't know. And then he continued to list them off. And that's a lot of the things too, is like, I think there are people that worked to help the black community, and now they have just been forgotten to the waste. There was a statue that they pulled down, was a very prominent anti-slavery activist, and they pulled his statue down, not knowing the history of who he was.
That's right.
Right.
Of course.
And they decided it was just an old statue, so it must be a Confederate statue. So they pulled it down, even though he was the one that was working to help end it.
Now listen to this, you liberals out there that voted for freaking this dude, this potato. This
you know
potato
what they
in
say?
chief.
He's only reading it. He didn't mean what he said.
Okay, well, why did he say it though? It rolled off his tongue. He could easily
skip the word, right? He could have skipped
he could have skipped it. It rolled right off his tongue like it's normal.
Let's see if he says it.
And remember, this is your president.
That with precision, the war in a racially effective manner, leaving intact predominantly white ward. As the governor of the court Nunez on a majority black district centered in Orleans Parish. In a confidential portions of your staff memo, they brought to your attention the allegation that important legislators in defeating the Nunez plan in the basement said, quote, "We already have a nigger mayor. We don't need any more nigger big shots." And the court cited evidence of discriminatory intent on the part of other legislators, including the representative who testified at the court hearing, that there were legislators, quote, who don't feel they wanted to have a district that would be able to elect.
Didn't he talk about it?
It's incredible.
No pause.
I get it. I get it. He was reading something, but why would he say that word? You know,
It's
he
how
knows
he
how
said it.
that's a.
It's
It's
how
how
he said it.
it just rolled off his tongue. Like,
But if
Like
you take that into
butter.
account, plus the racial jungle quote
that
that
one
he
too.
has,
Yeah,
that he
come
has
on.
said himself, and they was not reading something, he said that himself. It's easy to see.
mhm.
Them old white Democrats, they've never liked.
And he's one of them. He's been in
Never liked
politics for how many years now? 40-something years.
Yeah,
Oh,
40,
longer than
50
that.
years, something like that.
50 years, yeah.
So he was around during that the civil rights and Jim Crow, and he voted against it. I guarantee. If you can go back in history and look who voted against it, and Joe Biden's name's on there, that should tell you a lot about him.
I do think that was a little bit before his time. I think he didn't come in until what, the 80s? I think it was when Joe Biden first
Well,
got in.
his wife died in the 70s. He was starting to make his move at that time. So yeah, you're right.
Mhm.
Well, he was probably out there throwing rocks at black people anyway.
No, but
Remember-
he grew up in that time. That's a
Yeah.
different
you know,
story.
he was around corn pop with roaches sitting on his lap, watching his hair grow on his leg.
Never gonna live that one down.
Yeah.
Jeez, man.
Take this chain and wrap it around your neck, nigga. Corn pop.
I swear, I think Corn Papa was black, so like it
Yeah.
totally changes the story when you think of it like that. You know what I mean? It's like
Hey,
if Corn
good
Papa
job.
was like a white dude, then it's like okay, whatever. But if it was a black dude, it's like that's a little suspect, man. You're gonna like go beat a black kid at a school at a pool. I mean, a little bit weird. A little bit weird.
Good job, leftists. Good job on that president, that potato and cheese
Remember,
that you guys voted
This
for.
is your president.
Yours.
Is it
not
okay
mine.
if we can shit on Reagan now?
Oh yeah,
No.
for sure.
Okay, so like one of the big things when we're still on the topic of when it comes to black folks and the Republican Party, one of the things that I said that they let them down on was the fact that they went after the Black Panthers. Reagan did that. Went after the Black Panthers because they showed up at the Capitol with guns. They didn't do anything. They were just protesting. They were using their Second Amendment rights, which they're allowed to do. And white folks got scared. And that's what happened. And now because of that, we have all of these other weapons legislations that stemmed from that one action because of Reagan. And that's one of the things that we've shot ourselves in the foot with, is that Reagan started all of this stupid nonsense when it comes to guns.
And for all you liberals out there, again, tell me why the NRA was created.
That's right.
Anybody? Has something
So,
to do with
pop
people.
quiz.
Has something to do with people my color. You know what I mean? So you guys are against the NRA. The NRA supported civil rights. They supported.
They were giving
black people
guns to black
protecting
folks.
themselves. Yeah, they were.
So this is
protecting-
what Biden said.
All right, here we
I
go.
don't have the audio, but this is what he said. Unless we do something about this, we're talking about busing now. Remember, it's an integration busing thing. Unless we do something about this, my children are going to grow up in a jungle. The jungle being a racial jungle with tensions having built so high that it's going to explode at some point. We have to make some move on this.
And
No.
and it wasn't black people who were exploding. It was, you know, the white kids that didn't want integration. Black kids were getting attacked. They were just trying to go to class.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. White liberals are now doing the exact same thing, just in another way. It's like I think we should step away from the black folks, and they should have their own space, like away from us. Like, they're just saying it in a different way.
They deserve it.
a nicer way.
No, what you're saying is you don't want black people around.
Look, it's no different than what the Democrats wanted.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
no
just
different.
they figured a way out to do it now.
They figured to make it smooth now.
Yeah.
When it comes to
Let them want to do it.
when it comes to the state of what I consider the Democrats, the Republicans today, I attribute a lot of their issues to neocons.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I attribute it to not just neocons but warmongers.
Yep.
with the advent of the military complex that's been going on since, I would say, around
World War II,
1930,
40, maybe. Yeah, maybe World War
1925, somewhere in
Yeah.
there, when we became a superpower with regards to our military, and we found that we could bully people elsewhere.
Hmm.
I think a lot of the people that gained power with the concept of gaining more power that had nothing to do with the American people, and both sides started to
Yeah.
suffer.
Mhm.
You may have had one-offs of some presidents that started off good. Even Reagan started off fine, and he succumbed to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Bush's were never really Republican. I don't think we've had a true Republican
Trump.
president. No, before that.
Oh,
I
no.
can't remember the last time we had a tried and true Republican president. I think Taft might have been it.
And you think about like the presidents, there are way more Democratic presidents than Republican presidents.
Yeah.
You know, and they control this country, and this is why their country is in a state, because Democrats were in control for a long time,
Right.
and they've controlled everything a lot more than Republicans. And every time they get in control, it goes to shit, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
think about all the wars. How many wars are started under Republicans, and how many wars are started under Democrats? So Democrats are the true warmongers. Yes, there are Republican warmongers, but every time a Democrat's in office, we're bombing somebody. We're going into a country.
I would say that up until
Bush.
just after Reagan. Yeah,
Yeah.
when the Bushes came in, they were just the same. It was a continuation.
And
It was a continuation, one after the next. Bush, Clinton, Bush, and then you had Obama, and then you have Trump. Every
Trump
one of
never.
them.
Trump.
No, I said, and then you had Trump.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All of them
Yeah.
before. We had at least 2 wars that were major wars started in every presidency since that point.
And then you
There's
skip
a lot
Trump.
of military actions that were done over
Right.
10 years.
Yeah, and you skip Trump, you go to Biden, and guess where we're at?
We're back in well, albeit a fake
Ukraine.
one,
Right
but, you
back
know.
into expanding more of it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
who
So
are
I think the
true warmongers?
Republicans lost a lot of footing when they bought into, or at least we started putting people as nominees that were all about promoting the destruction of other countries at the behest of people that were bigger money-wise than they were.
Yeah. Big money.
Big money.
The
And it
industrial
wasn't even,
complex and other
it wasn't even
lobbyists.
corporations. It wasn't even, it was individuals, literal individuals that controlling both sides. But here's the thing. I think the reason why both left and right are fighting the idea, not necessarily the person, the idea of Trump, is that Trump himself represented, whether you like him or not, we're talking about what he represented. He represented American independence.
Mm-hmm.
And not just American independence, but American sovereignty. And so when you have that coming back to the forefront, what do the big men up top see? They see the American people might wake up and we're going to be back to where things were before we took over.
That's right.
Mhm.
Now, I don't believe that the Republicans today, they might be like
There's
seven,
a few.
like
Yeah,
7 or
there's a
so of
few.
them
Yeah.
that are for
Real
the people.
Republicans?
The rest of them are not.
It's
They're
the
not.
it's the young Republicans, and you see a couple of them in
Yeah.
Congress, man, that are very voiceful about the sovereignty of American citizens. So
They're
I
other
mean,
parties.
And it's interesting
Yeah.
that Trump was the figurehead for that particular thinking process, because now we're entering into a stage where it's like we are the world. We're a global citizen.
Everything's global. Mhm.
Multiculturalism, and the fact that the idea of being called a nationalist is frowned upon now for some strange reason.
I'm a nationalist.
Yeah.
I am too.
But you're a black
There's only two
nationalist,
parties.
that's different.
Yeah.
There's the Uniparty and everybody else.
Everybody else.
We're in the everybody else, and a lot of the younger Republicans and younger Democrats are in the everybody else category. The Uniparty, you see them, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, those people, they're the Uniparty. You know who they are, and you know how they're going to vote every single time. It's always going to be what's best for the Uniparty and the administrative state.
And what's best
They
to
aren't
put
going
money
to do
in their
anything for you.
And
Yeah.
what's best to put money in their pockets? Because all it is, all these bills and everything, all this money they're giving in programs, just money laundering. They give it to them, and then
Ukraine's a massive one.
Yeah, it's all money laundering. So
Marlon,
Mhm.
so here's a question that I want to present to you and to the rest of us here. What steps can we take as people who see all this stuff happen? What steps do you think we should take in order to bring the Republican Party back to
You can't.
status quo?
Can't. You can't. You can only destroy it at this point.
I hate to say this, but a lot of what's holding the Republican back and I'm not wishing on harm to anybody, but are the boomers, because
All the boomers.
they're very old school Republican Party. And us Gen X people, we're more the new wave, way of thinking. Just leave me alone. We're tired of these same old politicians who are 80 years old sitting up there making decisions, and they're so out of tune with what's going on in the world because they still have that boomer mindset. When you start getting these younger ones in here, you start seeing them being more blunt. They say what they want. They don't care. And, they're actually for the people. And that's what we need. If I vote for you and you represent me from my state, you speak on my state. In Texas, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to do it regardless of what you guys want. Regardless. That's how it should be. Those are states' rights. And this whole term, the United States, is a farce. The only time we were supposed to be united is at a time of war. That's why every state has their own constitution. This is why every state has their own flag. This is why laws are different in every state, because every state is sovereign. So the president can't come to Texas and tell us what to do, but it's all about money. If we don't listen, we lose federal funding. So
I do have my own inputs on how you can fix a Republican Party. If I was going to be giving advice to somebody running for office, it would definitely be let the Democrats win when it comes to taxing the corporations. And here's why. These woke ass mother effers, try not to cuss, it's really hard for me. Let them get taxed because they will stop all this woke nonsense once they realize the Republicans aren't going to block them anymore. Like once they realize the Republicans aren't going to help them, they're effed, right? Because they're going to get taxed into oblivion. And then they're going to stop all of the woke nonsense for one. And then two, they're going to start actually thinking, wait, if nobody's protecting us, then why are we still doing this for the Democratic Party? That's one way, right? You have to let them destroy themselves. And then two is definitely getting back into the conservative mindset, actually going back to their roots and making sure that they are actually doing something for the Black community. Because the Republican Party is the party of the Black community because they started it. It's their heritage and they should take it back, right? They should be the ones pushing forward with that and being, like Marlon said, more industrial and bringing those family values back. That's going to be a really big push, especially with the demographics that we have today, is once you get the Latin American vote and you get the Black vote, you only need like a quarter of the Latin American vote. But if you get all of the Black vote with the Republicans, Democrats never win again, ever. It's never going to happen. And that's what happened in the 1930s. And that's the reason why Republicans lost so much, is because once they lost the Black community, that was their death nail for the next 60 years. And it wasn't until the 90s that they started to pick back up again. So that's what I would say. Sir?
Oh, I thought you just sent that to me. That was an old one. That's the same one we watched.
Yeah, it's the same one in case mine didn't work. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So, I think what we could do then, since we tackled the origins of the red, we should tackle the origins of the blue on Monday.
Yes.
Oh man, that's going to be spicy.
I think we remember the origins of the blue.
Just remember who created the KKK and why
that's
they
exactly
did it.
The poster I'm going to use too.
Yeah, they did it because we were talking about because Blacks created another party and they didn't like that, so they were lynching Black people who were going out
all the way to the Jacksonian era.
But that's you guys' party,
all of it,
and the party switch.
So let's do that.
Yeah.
Monday, we'll tackle the party switch Monday, and we'll tackle the history and the origins of the Democratic Party, all the way from the original documents of the United States and before to now. Because trust me, they were that before, they just weren't named. It's a mindset. So we'll talk about all of that come Monday. Hopefully Man of Justice can join it, because I think he knows a lot more about that one than even I know. I know a fair amount. So join us again on Monday, if you don't mind, folks. Join us Monday. We'll have a whole case file for you on the Democrats, because their history is a lot more dirty than wow. So when we go into it, just don't get mad at us for giving you the information that's true. Just get mad at history for it happening. Don't get mad at the delivery system. Get mad at your own self, or if you ever voted for them. But in the meantime, and in between time, if you go to our page, we'll be updating it this weekend. I'll be putting the Patreon link in there, and I'll be putting our added a second email, and I'll put every bit of info we can possibly get to leave you options to reach us. When our merch does kick off, we'll put a link there for it too. And hopefully by that time we'll be monetized and we'll be able to actually put stuff in the chat for you too as well. But don't forget, like, share, subscribe if you haven't yet. Grab off the YouTube link if you don't mind, and share it from the YouTube link, not the Facebook page, people, if you don't mind.
And also, again, you know, the Savage Patriots likes to give you homework because we want you guys to educate yourselves. Also, we just don't want to hold information. Watch the Free State of Jones, and again, watch Everything's in Rich Man's Trick, because those are two things we talked about when it came to the military-industrial complex, and we talked about the Republican Party. Free State of Jones and Everything is a Rich Man's Trick. Trust me, watch them. You have until Monday. Get educated, then come back and, you know, give us what you guys think about it. Give us some input.
Yep.
So we'll chat then.
We always love conversations here.
Be sure to join us, please. It'll be 6:30 Eastern on Monday, 6:30 Eastern on Wednesday, and 6:30 Eastern on Friday. And we hope that you will join us for the discussion that's coming on Monday with the origins of the Democratic Party.
So do some research, get a little homework. Come on. A lot of you have been to college. Research, and so you can get some input, and then we could come back and give some educated answers. You may tell us something we don't know, you know?
So we'll catch up on Monday, guys. Be safe on the weekend. Have fun. Rest if you must. Party if you have to. And we'll link up again come Monday afternoon. Peace out. We out of here.